Jimmy!
I can't believe it. Oh.
What was it?
It was just like one mouse. It was like kind of just same thing.
Maybe what happened?
Yeah, the funniest thing.
I need your attention. I passed out these little study guides, basic principles of the church's social teaching. On Thursdays, the past few weeks, you've been going through Centesimus Annus, which is the 100th anniversary. It was an encyclical written by Pope John Paul II, who will be a saint, proclaimed a saint come April. Okay, he wrote it in 1991 on the 100th anniversary of the Church's first great social encyclical written by Pope Leo XIII 100 years earlier, called Rerum Novarum, on the new things concerning the social and economic order. If you remember from the first questions that I gave you on that encyclical a couple of weeks ago, the reason the church began a body of social teaching was in response to something that happened in the 19th century. What was it that happened in the 19th century in regard to society and culture at large that forced, you could say, the church to respond to things? What was it? There was something that took place, actually it was starting in the 1700s, but really in the 1800s, something was taking place, a revolution, and it goes by a fuller name, the Industrial Revolution. In the Industrial Revolution, I'm going to write that on the board, Industrial Revolution.
This one just been right on the board.
Yeah, Industrial, okay, Revolution, okay. Okay.
Oh, you actually are doing those. I thought you were just right on the board.
right on the board.
Because when
No,
I
I
want to see,
well, to know this, okay, because I don't deal with this in my handout, okay. The Industrial Revolution.
today's Friday, man. I'm so repaid. Today's payday.
The Industrial Revolution deals with, okay, it deals with the rise of something, okay.
I don't even know.
My paycheck's like 180. Well, I get paid twice a month. I work
Because you do, but don't you do every 2 weeks, right? Or every other week?
Every other week, yeah.
Yeah, we do that.
You do it every day.
I work 3-4 times a week.
Okay.
No, I'm coming to Rolling.
This is in the 1800s, okay. Okay. In the 1800s, Anna? Okay. In the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution refers to the rise of manufacturing factories, okay? And what you had was the capitalists, okay? Capitalists, they owned the capital, okay? That is the factories, okay? They owned them, okay? So you had the capitalists, the owners of the capital, okay? Which includes shareholders in a company, okay? Also shareholders, okay? That's how most companies are set up. You have people who sell stock, you invest in a company, and the shareholders want a profit, okay? Okay. They want a profit, okay? From the work, from the factories, okay? So that's fair, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. However, during the Industrial Revolution, you had the capitalists who owned the capital, the factories, and you had the workers, okay? You had the workers who were employed at the factories, okay? Who worked in
Workers
bad working conditions. If you have a question or comment, raise your hand, okay? I don't need a comment on it.
Okay.
The workers, okay? The workers were paid by the capitalists, okay? Paid by the owners of the factories, okay? However, the situation was such that their working conditions were very bad, okay? They were bad, okay? Does anyone know why they were bad? What characterized, for example, yes?
Like they'd usually have like kids that were like super underage and they'd be in like sweatshops, and then if they got injured they'd like cut off the finger, they'd just like kick them out and bring the next one in. And they didn't get paid well at all. Like
Right. The working conditions were bad, okay, in the sense that you can name a number of things, okay. I'm going to name some of those things. Their working conditions were bad. An example would be long working hours, okay? Long hours. Sometimes maybe 12 to 14 hours a day they'd be working. Okay? They were paid a very low wage, okay? A low wage, so they would barely survive, okay? Such a low wage, okay? Long hours, 3, okay, 2, 3, okay. Anything else that would characterize the bad working conditions? Well, Emma mentioned that the children who work, okay? Children would be forced to work. They couldn't go to school because they had to work. They had to support the family because everyone was just barely surviving with the low wages. So little kids, they'd all have to go off to work in the factories. They'd be working these long hours, okay? Not only children, but wives had to work too, okay? I'll make it plural, okay? The wives and the children had to work at low wages. It's like the whole family had to go out and work to support themselves because things were so bad, okay? Another bad characteristic of the working conditions at this time, can anyone think of any? Any more?
Like it was unsanitary.
Okay.
Dirty.
Yeah, unsanitary,
Rats,
okay? Not healthy, you just say not healthy, okay? Not healthy, okay?
Asbestos.
Yeah, you could have a lot of,
Can I get ahead of that?
so we had, well, in the long hours too, people were working, for example, 7 days a week, okay? You would have to work, okay? You wouldn't get time off, no Sunday worship, okay? So, you, listen, I don't want comments on my
Well, I didn't know
lecture.
Sunday was no day for worship. That's it.
Well, if you have a comment or question, Seth, remember our agreement?
No.
We talked outside a couple of weeks ago. That you
Oh,
don't make
yeah.
comments unless you raise your hand, okay? So, withhold your comments. If you have something to say, raise your hand and I'll call on it, okay? That's how it's done, okay?
Terrified.
Okay.
Terrified.
That's the new word?
So-
That's the new word.
So we have, you know, these bad conditions of the workers, and as a result of this, okay. Oh, and another thing you'd have, okay, you could put this number 5, okay. You would have not healthy working conditions, unsafe working conditions, okay, unsafe, okay. People would get injured, and when people would get injured, okay, number 5, there was no health benefits, okay. Or what we call workman's compensation, okay. Coffee. And that would be for injured workers, okay? Okay. So if a worker, if the head of a household was injured, okay, his whole family would be basically starving because he wouldn't get any insurance, okay, workman's compensation or insurance, you could say, okay, to cover for injuries. So this was not a good situation, and you had, as a result, a conflict. Okay, there was this conflict between the capitalists, okay, and the workers, okay. And the capitalists were interested in making more profit. Okay. So you had these long hours, low wages, and no benefits of any type. Okay. The workers, because this was the only work they had, the only work offered them, you know, they had to take what was given to them, and this was unjust. Okay. And as a result of the unjust conditions of work, okay, as a result of that, some thought of ways to justify or make right the system. Okay? Now, one of those who did so, his name was Karl Marx. Okay? And Karl Marx proposed, okay, a solution to the system. Okay? And what he proposed was, the system of socialism. Okay? Or it's also called atheistic communism, okay? Or communism. Where in socialism or communism, what happens to the capitalists, the owners of the capital? What happens to property under a pure socialistic system? Something happens to the property. What is it?
6th grade students, please report to the main office.
It gets taken away.
Excuse me, to the lobby.
More given to
6th grade students, please report to the lobby.
Under a socialistic system, does anyone own property? No. No. Everyone is supposed to own everything. So there's no private property. Okay? No ownership, you could say. Say that. No ownership. Okay? Private property, okay? By anyone, okay? Everyone shares in all the property, okay? And this was a proposed solution to the problem of the capitalists and the workers, okay, which was not a good solution. Okay? And why isn't that a good solution? Why taking away property from everyone so no one owns any property, why is that not a good solution to the problem of the capitalists versus the workers? Why would that not be a good solution? In fact, you answered this question, Michael?
No, it's an inside thing because we.
It's a challenge.
No,
It's challenging me.
no.
It's opposed to will.
Be quiet. I'm lecturing, okay?
Challenge.
So Michael, why would that be not a good solution to take away property from everyone? Okay, if you remember, Pope Leo XIII dealt with this in his encyclical in 1891. Pope John Paul II talked about this in 1981 on the 100th anniversary. Okay, what's wrong with the idea of taking away property so no one owns property? What is the matter with that idea? Okay. It's not a good idea. Why is it? No, why?
Because there would be no point to work for anything anymore because you can't own anything anyway.
Okay, and there's no point to work for anything. The problem with that, okay, it removes an incentive to work hard. Okay, takes away the incentive, to work hard. Okay. Because you're not going to get anything more by working harder. Okay? That's a practical problem with socialism. But there's another problem. Well, it's kind of related to this. What does this tell us? It takes away the incentive to work hard. Well, it goes against human nature. Okay, this goes against human nature. Because it's natural for us to want to own property, okay? It's part of our nature, okay? It's natural to own property. People have done it throughout the centuries, okay? People have owned property. People own houses, people own property, they work, they buy things, they want to own things. This is part of human nature, okay? How God made us, okay? Jesus never said you have to give away all your property and you can't own anything, okay? The early Christians actually practiced a form of communism we see in the Acts of the Apostles, where they freely gave up everything they had to share with those others, but that wasn't a requirement for everyone to do that, okay? Some people did it, okay? Barnabas did it. You know, he had a big tract of land, he gave it to the church, and he said, just divide up the property, because I'm going to go out preaching, okay? But the church, and Jesus never said, okay, everyone, you can't own your home anymore, you can't own a business, you can't make money, okay? No, that goes against human nature, okay? And that was a problem with Karl Marx's proposed solution, okay? Another problem with Karl Marx's proposed solution was that socialism and communism, okay, it was atheistic, okay? That's another problem, okay? Problem number 2, you could say.
7th grade students, please report to the lobby at this time. 7th grade students, report to the lobby at this time.
Okay. Socialism, communism was atheistic. If there is no God, okay, if no God, okay, then what does that mean, okay? If there's no God, then the human person, okay, is not made in God's image, okay? The human person is there to serve the state, okay? So the human person is not made in God's image, okay? Has no real dignity, okay? No real value and dignity, okay? That's the problem. The human person is there to serve the state, okay? that's Karl Marx's proposed solution to the capitalists owning the property and the workers being oppressed, okay? Well, Karl Marx wrote his book in the late 1800s, and communism started to make headway, and as a response, okay, Pope Leo XIII, okay, he wrote an encyclical, okay, called Rerum Novarum, okay. Rerum Novarum. And that's on the new things, okay. That's what Rerum Novarum means. On the new things, okay, of the social and economic order, okay. And Pope Leo XIII refuted the position taken by Karl Marx. He said, no, we can't say that people don't have a right to own private property, and we can't say that there's no God, and that the human person has no dignity and value. That the human person, see, Karl Marx said, the human person's got no real dignity and value. He's just a cog in the wheel of the state, okay? And he's expendable, okay? Human person is expendable. You can get rid of human persons, okay? That's what I mentioned this weeks ago. When Joseph Stalin was trying to implement communism in Ukraine, and the farmers refused to give up their property. We have a right to own our property. We have a right to raise our crops. He starved them out. 10 million Ukrainians. He starved them. He said, to make an omelet, okay, to make the communist system, you have to break a few eggs. You have to kill a few million people. It's the state that's important, okay? No, no. Well, Leo XIII said no, that we have a right to own property, okay? Now, take a look at the sheet here, okay? Basic principles of the Church's social teaching. Number one, the preliminary truth. Catholic Church, founded by Christ to provide light to the world through its teaching, provides guidance to people and nations on social economic questions. That's why Pope Leo XIII wrote his encyclical. And this quote here is from Pope John Paul II's 100th anniversary encyclical Centesimus Annus. Okay? The Church has something to say about specific human situations, individual and communal, national, international. She formulates a general doctrine for these situations, a corpus, that means a body, which enables her to analyze social realities, to make judgments about them, to indicate directions to be taken for the just resolution of the problems involved. And this is the Church's right. This is the Church's duty.
8th grade students, please report to the lobby. 8th grade students, please report to the lobby.
The Church has a duty to do this. Okay? That's why Pope Leo XIII responded to the whole situation of the capitalists versus the workers being oppressed. On the one hand, he had to say what the capitalists were doing was wrong, oppressing the worker. Okay? On the other hand, Karl Marx is wrong. His proposed solution to the problem is wrong, because we can't get rid of God, and we can't say that the human person has no dignity and value. Okay? So, there's no general solution of the social question apart from the gospel. That's an important principle. The gospel teaches us how to respond to the social question. Okay? Workers versus the capitalists. Okay? Christ gives us light. Okay? Christ gives us guidance. Okay? That's the starting principle. Now, a corollary of this is the Church's social teaching, social doctrine, is not something optional. We have to know it and follow it. Okay? That's the reason for this class. Okay? The next principle we'll pick up Monday is the dignity and value of the human person, which we've been talking about. Okay?